if you're following along in your book, it appears in chapter 18, section 7 of the textbook. When we say I need do nothing, that can be interpreted a number of ways. There's nothing that anyone needs to do to prepare for love or prepare for the holy instant. And we covered this in detail in section 18.4. Here's some of the ideas that were covered there. They blend right in with what we'll read today. Is the idea of making preparations for holiness is really a form of arrogance, that you can make yourself prepared for holiness and believe that it's up to you to establish the conditions for peace. This is an error of the mind, and the whole purpose of what we will read today is to remove these errors from our mind at whatever level they exist. It comes from the false belief that there must be something you can do, and convincing yourself that you can make a powerful contribution to the truth. That is a mistake that we can correct here. And underneath that is a more deeply held ego belief that it's up to you to decide what is possible. You should be the arbitrator of deciding what's possible in life. That's an ego belief. And that perpetuates other errors, including the belief that certain things are very difficult for miracles to correct, and some things are easy, that there's an order of difficulty. And when we buy into that erroneous thinking, it adds fear to us, because now we're facing difficult situations that may be beyond our capabilities. And so we want to correct those errors. And here's in the form of a prayer, a statement, a way to keep this in mind. I need add nothing to God's plan for creation, but to receive it into my life, my heart, my soul, I must be willing not to substitute my own plan in place of God's plan. That's the only thing you can do, is not substitute your plan for his. So
you still have too much faith in the body as a source of strength. What plans do you make that do not involve its comfort or protection or enjoyment in some way? This makes the body an end and not a means in your interpretation. And this always means you still find sin attractive. No one accepts atonement for himself who still accepts sin as his goal. You have thus not met your one responsibility. Atonement is not welcomed by those who prefer pain and destruction.
It's from chapter 5. The sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. The sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement. And what's that mean? That the atonement, all notions of the past and guilt and error and mistakes that I might believe were true of me or others, all of that is cleared away and undone by the plan of atonement. And therefore we start in perfect innocence. This moment is a moment of perfect innocence, because there, as Vienne indicated, there is no time, there is no past of guilt, there's nothing to be afraid of in the future. Right now, we start with a perfectly clear state of innocence. We should also acknowledge the forms the error appears in, which is to instead place our faith in the body as the source of our strength and making plans around it. It's a control scheme directed towards our body. The ego is determined to be in control. And this seems to make the body part of the goal and not merely a device, a learning device on the way towards the goal. The one error that we need to correct is that notion of what's important, what really matters here. If you just keep this in mind, your one responsibility is to realize that right now is a holy instant waiting to happen. And the only thing that stands between you and the experience of that holy instant is some belief that says you can't. Maybe there's guilt or a mistake. So this is the great undoing of the plan of atonement.
There is one thing that you have never done. You have not utterly forgotten the body. It is perhaps faded at times from your sight, but it has not yet completely disappeared. You are not asked to let this happen for more than an instant. Yet it is in this instant that the miracle of atonement happens. Afterwards, you will see the body again, but never quite the same. And every instant that you spend without awareness of it gives you a different view of it when you return.
This paragraph echoes what we read in the previous section about beyond the body. And you might recall there's a paragraph in there that gives a detailed sense of, for an instant, one forgets about preoccupation with the body, and their mind, their awareness joins with some sound or sight or idea, some thought, could be of another person. I walked out of the door of my house and was walking towards my car. That's when it happened. I was thinking about a friend of mine that I used to talk to two times a week on the phone. And we haven't talked in 2 months. We stopped talking for a while. And in that moment, I just joined, my full attention was on treasuring and valuing that relationship and the desire to be connected. I had no awareness of anything else other than, wow, I really miss my brother Jeffrey here. I hope we can talk again soon. And then I'm walking towards my car and I kind of realized, oh, I just had a moment there where I completely forgot about everything except for the desire to relate to a brother. Follow up on that story is Jeffrey called yesterday for the first time in 2 months. And we had a good long talk like we always do. We're not asked to let these instants happen for more than an instant. And because they're so brief, they many times occur and go by without any commentary about, I just had an instant where I was joined with an idea or joined with a thought or a sound. So the Course says everyone's had these experiences. And what we read last week is that these experiences contain much that we find in the holy instant. They are not necessarily the holy instant, but they contain much that it does occur within the holy instant. It's the instant, in this instant, the miracle of atonement happens.
I read that one booklet on, I think it was by Perry, about I need do nothing, because it stumped me. You mean I can't do anything? And after reading that and really thinking about it a lot, contemplating, and for me, it was the need part. I simply needed to let go of the need. The anxiety about not doing something or not knowing what to do. I simply needed, for me, just letting go of need rather than thinking about actions or no actions or whatever, because actions spontaneously happen as long as I'm not desperately seeking a solution or what to do or whatever. So for me, that was going back to the need part of it. Helped me to let go of that.
I want to circle back to something Julie said, because when she went back into the office on Friday, the one person was making efforts to make superficial contact. But Julie recognized, see, every encounter, someone is either seeking for help or seeking to help. And Julie, you recognize that this was, the form it took might have been superficial or awkward, but this was that person's effort to try to move forward and establish neutrality. And so that awareness that that's real, no matter what it appears like on the surface, that's really the intent underneath. That's this course is all about that kind of recognition. It says it right here. It gives you a different view of it when you return. You now you re-enter into those familiar environments like the office, but now you have a different view available to you when you return.
What Maggie just said about letting go of the need reminds me of when I feel like there's a demand for me to do something, then I know that's my ego. So I relate to what she says in that way.
I think a miracle's happening right now for me because I'm in the midst of, for the past couple whiles, taunted by the ego. You got to respond. You got to say something. You need to say something. Like, how are you going to handle this? What are you going to do? And I keep like, I recognize you. You're the first to speak and you're speaking the loudest. So I know that I'm not going to listen to you. So please, can you be quiet so I can hear the voice I want to hear? And it just kept going. Like, I just really related to my sister sharing here, both of them, like, holy cow, literally like the voice of God out of each of your mouths to me, like that highlighting the need. And then Julie just waiting, that beautiful waiting. And, you can categorize that however you want. You can call it avoidance, whatever. You can call it, I took a day off. How beautiful, how gentle. I want to acknowledge how you've demonstrated for me that gentleness, and also our new sister Maggie, like, that's it, isn't it? Because there are two voices and two choices. So I need do nothing. There it is right there. And I love that highlighting of need. And I wish I will rewind because this is recorded, right? I want to hear that again. I need to hear those words, especially from Maggie, about that, about highlighting that word need, and where that comes from. So like I said, I really think it's the voice of the ego. And the ego isn't in me. It's just a thought. It's a thought system. And I don't buy that process thought system anymore.
At no single instant does the body exist at all. It is always remembered or anticipated, but never experienced just now. Only its past and future make it seem real. Time controls it entirely, for sin is never wholly in the present. In any single instant, the attraction of guilt would be experienced as pain and nothing else, and would be avoided. it has no attraction now. Its whole attraction is imaginary and therefore must be thought of in the past or in the future.
Let's focus on the attraction of guilt, which is a review of things covered before. And the footnote here is helpful. Guilt begins in the mind. We read in the section last week, Beyond the Body, that the mind then projects the guilt onto the body, so the mind doesn't have to recognize it as the source and then feels like, well, the body is guilty. It's displacing guilt onto the body. And then the mind, then in its confusion, is attracted to it. It's attracted in the sense of it's attached to the image of the body as part of itself. It's a body-mind identity confusion. It identifies with the body, which it has projected guilt onto. So the mind is now identified with the body where it finds guilt to be. And thus, the mind is identified with the guilt that it has projected onto the body. And so it's an attraction of guilt. It's a confusion. But it dominates the false self system, the body-mind identification system that the ego then builds its thought system upon. So it says, in any single instant, this attraction of guilt would be experienced as pain and nothing else, and would be avoided. In your present moment, devoid of past and the future, all the illusions have faded away in the present moment, and only what's true is true. And there it has no attraction now. The whole attraction to guilt is imaginary and must be thought of as in the past or the future. It's an illusion. We would say you're dreaming a dream of guilt and fear. Way the mind thinks about the body we just read is in terms of the past or future. That's the way the mind regards what the body has done in the past or what it will do in the future. In the present, the mind has no need for identifying with the body or any of those body images, nor any of the pain and suffering that are thought to be part of that. The mind, in the present, the mind is free. And so to the mind, in any single instant, the body does not exist. It's only remembered by the mind or anticipated by the mind, but never does the mind experience the body just right now. Why? This goes back to, Vienne, you were very prescient with your comment early about time not existing, because that's what we're talking about right here. In the now, the awareness has expanded to include all nows, all instants. They're part of a whole. Here's a statement that is easy to understand. The body does not function in eternity. None of our bodies are participating in an eternity. They only have a time-based framework. So when the mind rises to the state where it's unaware of time and it opens up to eternity, from that level, high plane of consciousness, the body doesn't exist at all.
So what came to me as you were talking about that is, if I'm not in the present, then I'm dreaming.
That's right. if you're not experiencing the holy instant free of the limitations of remembering the past or anticipating the future, if you're preoccupied with any of them, you're dreaming. Only when you're in the present, Julia, are you tasting, even for an instant, the experience of reality. Everything else is a mind illusion or a mind dream. Let's bring it back to our theme. I need do nothing. What do you need to do to prepare for the holy instant? What preparations does your mind or your body need to experience an instant where you are no longer aware of time, no longer bound by limited thinking or guilt or fear? The only thing you can do is let go of any plans you might have had to get ready for it.
I was thinking about how we talked before, and it's been on my mind. I've been something that's been passing through my being. This concept that we talked about the last time about, do we experience in meditations moments of no body, no moments of no time, the moments of awareness? And what's coming up for me now, awareness, when we're in the holy instant, the true holy instant, is there any awareness? You can't be aware you're in the holy instant because that's a thought. All right. So when I'm in the holy instant, it's just now, it's just happening. And that's why we say there's nothing I need to do. The only thing I need to do is the whole doing is the process of emptying. I must empty myself of everything in order to be in the now, because anything that I'm attached to is past or future, kind of like wrestling with, if you will, is the awareness in the instant. Am I aware I had a holy instant as I look back? Or am I aware that I'm in the holy instant? What awareness is there?
Yeah, let me ask a clarifying question, David. In what you're just referring to, that kind of awareness, were you thinking in terms of what's sometimes regarded as the observer or the watcher of consciousness, so that your mind's in some state of freedom and all of a sudden you're aware that your mind is in freedom?
Well, that's what happens as you look back.
Right.
Okay. As I look back, I'm aware that my mind was in freedom. But in the moment, in the instant, I really don't have awareness. I just am.
You know, Eckhart Tolle talks a lot about that.
What we're just saying is a lower mind can't fully know what a higher mind experience is like. So this is a metaphor now, so bear with me. So when you're in a state of a holy instant where your mind is free of the body and of time and space and of all limitation, and then you, as David said, you step back and look at that and try to comment on what that was. It's like your first grade mind trying to comment on who you are right now. It's really a lower order thinking attempting to assess or put words around a higher order state. We fool ourselves when we think we can intelligently and with our words and our time-space concepts comment on heavenly awareness. This is all part of the ego's attempt to remain in control. Oh, let me tell you what you just experienced. Let me tell you what that was. Let me be the arbiter of, was that valid? Was that to be encouraged? can we do that again? Yeah, all of that, which is kind of a form of analysis or commentary, that's not what we're suggesting needs to be done here, not at all. It's, as David said, it's more of an emptying, a subtracting. They called it in the Reformation, the via negativa, the way of negating the mind's interference.
It is impossible to accept the holy instant without reservation unless, just for an instant, you are willing to see no past or future. You cannot prepare for it without placing it in the future. Release is given you the instant you desire it. Many have spent a lifetime in preparation and have indeed achieved their instance of success. This course does not attempt to teach more than they learned in time, but it does aim at saving time. You may be attempting to follow a very long road to the goal you have accepted. It is extremely difficult to reach atonement by fighting against sin. Enormous effort is expended in the attempt to make holy what is hated and despised. Nor is a lifetime of contemplation and long periods of meditation aimed at detachment from the body necessary. All such attempts will ultimately succeed because of their purpose. Yet the means are tedious and very time-consuming, for all of them look to the future for release from a state of present unworthiness and inadequacy.
2 examples that relate. The Dalai Lama has said that he meditates 5 hours a day. And there are people that I have met that in their, they were part of Maharishi's circle, that it was a group of 12 of them that sat in a room for 8 hours a day and meditated on behalf of the entire world. And they did that for years. She said she did it for 12 years, meditated for 8 hours a day with these other people. So a lifetime of contemplation, long periods of meditation, a lifetime of preparation, and the Course does not attack those paths, for it says all such attempts will ultimately succeed because of their purpose. This Course does not attempt to teach more than they learned in time. They share the same goal, not attempting to teach more. But this Course does aim, and here's the distinction, at saving time, so that a lifetime in preparation and a lifetime of contemplation is not necessary. Instead, as was said, release is given you the instant you desire it. Saving time. There's the distinction that the Course in Miracles makes from all the others who have devoted a life, their lives, to achieving this liberation. Is the Course says they will succeed. We're trying for the same goal, but to do it by saving time. We are one, we are united in purpose with our brothers and sisters who are devoted in that form to finding detachment from the body. We have the same goal. We are trying to do it in a different time scale using the Course in Miracles.
I had an amazing experience with this, and I know this to be true. I probably about a year and a half ago, in my humanness, I was suffering over a situation, spending a lifetime of preparation and trying to figure it all out. And I was driving and I was praying and begging the Holy Spirit to like help me. The words, I need do nothing, came into my head. I hadn't read this yet. I ran home and opened up my book, or I Googled it, like as to where it was in the text. And it's this paragraph. I have it all asterisked and all written over. And it was like one of the first time, I know the whole let go, let God, this, that, whatever. It was like, I need do nothing. I am struggling with all of this stuff in here, which I'm not saying I don't do, meditate and all that, but it does aim at saving time. And it was like such an aha moment. I know this to be true. I need do nothing but ask the Holy Spirit for help. That whole situation got resolved for me and I saved a lot of time, and it was pretty mind-blowing. I really do believe now, I know the Holy Spirit listens and hears and is there, because I had not read this.
I was raised in kind of a pretty heavy-duty Catholic environment. And when I first was presented with the course, of course, some of the words really set me off, triggered. And one of them was sin, the concept of sin, and also atonement. Both of those terms I struggled with for a long time. The way that I've come to understand them, because I have to understand these things that work for me, is sin. I look at the Latin meaning of sin. Sin means without.
Yes.
In Latin. So
Yeah.
It means, to me, sin is simply without spirit.
Without
Simply,
spirit, without love. Yes.
yeah, it's just, and then atonement is at one-ment, where you are one at one, and it's moving away from, I was raised with that concepts of atonement in terms of guilt and sacrifice and all of those. So I have to make the words work for me in my own mind. So when I see sin, it's always simply, that's when I'm not in connection with spirit, or when I'm not experiencing at one-ment. Some of the words were, I had to really rework them for my own experience.
Last week, we talked about the purpose of the Holy Spirit and the means for attaining the Holy Spirit's purpose. Those who spend a lifetime in contemplation have the same purpose. They will ultimately succeed. This course does not aim at anything more than they've learned. But the means for attaining that purpose we're making a distinction here.
Your way will be different, not in purpose, but in means. A holy relationship is a means of saving time. One instant spent together with your brother restores the universe to both of you. You are prepared. Now you need but to remember, you need do nothing. It would be far more profitable now merely to concentrate on this than to consider what you should do. When peace comes at last to those who wrestle with temptation and fight against the giving in to sin, when the light comes at last into the mind given to contemplation, or when the goal is finally achieved by anyone, it always comes with just one happy realization: I need do nothing.
Something very profound here, because we're talking about the same goal shared by people who spend a lifetime in contemplation and people in A Course in Miracles who share the same goal, but use a different means. Your way will be different, not in purpose, but in means. What is the means? One instant spent together with your brother restores the universe to both of you. We're talking about a holy relationship with your brother as a means of saving time. One instant spent together with your brother restores the universe to both of you. Does it say that their body has to be present in the same physical space as yours? This is the means of a holy relationship, having a holy instant in the framework of a holy relationship. It doesn't even require a body be present, but it does require that you be entirely willing to join. It's a type of union, a joining with your brother, permeated by a sense of holiness, not obviously not permeated by grievances and judgments and things of the past. And what do you need to do to prepare for that instant? Nothing.
I just wanted to make a comment. I don't even know why. I just feel the urgency to say this, but there was a part of me at one point in time where I didn't know I was doing this, but I was concentrating, I guess, manipulating, controlling outcomes. And then I would say nothing's really happening. And then when I would do nothing, seriously do nothing, it would work out. And so I remember talking to a friend, and she's like, well, you're trying to control the outcome. I said, no, I'm not controlling. I'm like, stop it. And then I have to think about it. And when you're just reading, and it said merely to concentrate on this, I'm like, I realize if I stop concentrating on solutions or the actual outcome, it ends up happening the way it's supposed to happen. And maybe concentrate on doing nothing is what I need to practice more of.
An emptying of my own plans, my own solutions, to make room for the solution of the divine mind in our life.
Here is the ultimate release, which everyone will one day find in his own way at his own time. You do not need this time. Time has been saved for you because you and your brother are together. This is the special means this course is using to save you time. You are not making use of the course if you insist on using means which have served others well, neglecting what was made for you. Save time for me by only this one preparation, and practice doing nothing else. I need do nothing is a statement of allegiance, a truly undivided loyalty. Believe it for just one instant, and you will accomplish more than is given to a century of contemplation or of struggle against temptation. We hear sometimes people talk about God, G-O-D, as the gift of desperation. Because when do we turn to God? When we reach utter desperation. Our ego has led us into desperation. And then I surrender and I say, God, help me. I accept that I can do nothing about whatever it is, my situation. And that's when I'm truly undivided loyalty. When I give up me, I have undivided loyalty to the Holy Spirit. And that's why I need do nothing.
What is the means of A Course in Miracles? It involves a holy relationship. you and your brother together, this is the special means this course is using to save you time. Does that mean that you have to get together for coffee? Or that you have to send a birthday present? Or any other form in the physical world? No, it doesn't prescribe the form, but it does require that at the level of your soul, all artificial barriers, illusions of barriers, usually in the form of grievances or judgment, be released, even if just for an instant, so that you can relate to that person and appreciate them and understand them. Of course, then teaches this leads to identifying with them and ultimately loving them. This is the special means this course uses to save you time. Years ago, it was said, pray for your enemies. Well, especially if one of your enemies is somebody that used to be friends with. Those are wonderful learning opportunities to transform any relationship that has a long-standing barrier between you and them, but that saves a lifetime, a century of contemplation.
To do anything involves the body. And if you recognize you need do nothing, you have withdrawn the body's value from your mind. Here is the quick and open door through which you slip past centuries of effort and escape from time. This is the way in which sin loses all attraction right now. For here is time denied and past and future gone. Who needs do nothing has no need for time. To do nothing is to rest and make a place within you where the activity of the body ceases to demand attention. Into this place, the Holy Spirit comes and there abides. He will remain when you forget, and the body's activities return to occupy your conscious mind.
You know, in all these descriptions that the Course has of these experiences, it's very easy for one's ego, I'll say my ego, to then impose its own definitions of what they're talking about. So be aware of that. In almost every case, the Course is more broad, more general. It's not narrow and specific the way my ego would define it. So I thought to do nothing and to be at rest would be kind of exemplified by sitting in meditation for 20 minutes devoted to meditation. Okay, so that would be my penultimate form of 20 minutes or more of meditation, perhaps practicing a miracle lesson. But I don't believe that to be limited to that. I'm not excluding that, but it's not limited to that. I think you can be outside walking and be, are we talking about at rest in your mind or your body? What we're talking about is a place within you where the activity of the body ceases to demand attention. Well, I submit that can happen under many conditions other than the classic way we might approach it. ceases to demand attention so that your mind is for an instant free to attend to the relationships between you and your brother. Then they call this the quick and open door through which you slip past centuries of effort and escape from time.
I had an experience years and years and years ago, and this, I put centuries of effort into helping myself and years of therapy and all kinds of, oh my God, I've got all these things underlined, right? And honestly, the most relief that I've gotten is since the Course in Miracles and the Holy Spirit, like to do nothing but rest and ask the Holy Spirit for help. It's just really that simple. And I'll go with, it's not that it's not easy, Jonica, it's just that it's different.
Yes.
Because it's unnatural. It was unnatural for me. My what I thought was my natural state was to identify with the body and do all kinds of efforts and all kinds of things. And I'm not saying those things are not okay, but now it's much more natural for me. I feel like I'm in a more natural state to just pray and ask the Holy Spirit for help, because I've seen results that I didn't get from centuries of effort. In the beginning, when I started all this, God, this can't work. My ego was chattering away. My ego is much quieter than it was most of the time because this stuff really works.
So a little preview, Christoph, you might appreciate this. So we're down the back half of chapter 18 here. In chapter 19, we're going to encounter the 4 obstacles to peace. What are the classic obstacles that our human mind imposes that interrupt the flow of peace as it begins to bathe your mind? What are the barriers to the peace? They allude to that. This is a pre-echo of the value, the body's value to your mind. Obstacle number 2 is to release and let go of the preoccupation by your mind of valuing the body. So they allude to that now. You've withdrawn the body's value from your mind. Doesn't mean you don't have a body or use it anymore. It's just that the identity and the importance of it as a part of you, that dream, has been withdrawn. And that frees your mind. It removes one of the barriers to peace. It calls it the quick and open door that allows you to slip past centuries of effort.
Okay, just had this moment of words and wanted to share. It's for me, and I want to share it here with my sweet family. So need and doing, again, it's another way of saying it. I heard you say, Jonica, let, and that's my favorite word. It's going to be the word of the year for me. It's just so beautiful. I love that word. It's like a prayer to me. Every time I hear that word, I'm like, oh, he said let. Like I'm like a dog with like a treat or something. Like let, like just that reminding. It's such a simple, short word, and it really has for me this the voice of Holy Spirit, like just saying to me, let go. There's that famous, let go, let God, but just that one, just forget everything after whatever comes after let. It's that word, because there's the surrender, there's the trust, there's the humility. I need do nothing. I let. Get it? Like it's like like a synonym for I need do nothing is
Mhm.
let.
Speaking words of wisdom, let it be, let it be.
Yet there will always be this place of rest to which you can return. And you will be more aware of this quiet center of the storm than all its raging activity. This quiet center in which you do nothing will remain with you, giving you rest in the midst of every busy doing on which you are sent. For from this center will you be directed how to use the body sinlessly. It is this center from which the body is absent that will keep it so in your awareness of it.
Whoa, final paragraph. Wow. Oh, so this really moves me. We have a word here called this quiet center within you. And this will be your assignment for this week, to retain this idea of the quiet center within me. And I'm sure we will hear more about this. Is the quiet center experienced only when I'm sitting quietly in meditation? No, it's being aware of this quiet center as the storm is raging, as you in the midst of every busy doing in which you are sent, there is this quiet center that will direct you how to use the body for good. Where I had an experience where I became aware of this experience. I may have had the quiet center other times, but here I was really aware of it. 4 years ago, Hurricane Irma was out in the Atlantic, headed towards Palm Beach County, directly in the path of Palm Beach County. And the report was that when they sent the planes out there, they recorded the highest wind speeds ever recorded, 165 miles an hour. So that, I live in Palm Beach County, that got my attention. The highest wind speeds ever recorded. So the house I was in was a wood frame house, and we were putting up shutters. It was not a house that I owned, but putting up these shutters. And the shutters were mislabeled, and the holes that were drilled in them were not aligning. And I can only tell you what could have taken 5 minutes on an ordinary situation. After 40 minutes, we still didn't have them on. The storm was coming. It was like 24 hours. The entire neighborhood was mobilizing. In Florida, when this happens, everybody's in motion to prepare. The other thing I remember is it was so hot, I was losing a liter of water every hour. I mean, I was drenched, and I trying to replace these fluids and everything. So on the outside, what I'm trying to say, it was chaos on the outside, mainly because the shutters wouldn't go on. And we had to jury rig it and all, and there were missing parts and all that. During all that, I had moments where I was in touch with the quiet center within. It was like my observer, David. I could see myself on the external side going through all this chaos, but on the inside, there was this knower that was independent of all the chaos on the outside. And like I was just going through the motions. So it was a place of rest. And I didn't do anything to bring that about. I was not meditating. Well, the outside was chaos, but I was not experiencing chaos. The situation was chaotic, but I was not in the chaos. I was in the quiet center, and on the outside was doing the work in chaos. We ran out of wing nuts. So you put the shutter on, you need a wing nut to hold it onto the wall. Otherwise, there's nothing to hold it onto. We ran out of wing nuts. So after going to 2 Home Depots for wing nuts, the whole county was sold out of wing nuts. It's a hurricane's about to happen, right? So there's no wing nuts to be found. So now I have to go back to the shutters that I had already put on and strategically steal wing nuts from those shutters to put them on the remaining windows because we don't have enough. So, it was just one thing after another. All of a sudden I get a phone call from Kim Wienel, and she says, I have a bunch of wing nuts. Do you know anybody that needs them? And I said, yes, I need them. Where are you? I'll come get them. She said, that's all right. I'll come to you. Where are you? And within 10 minutes, she drove up with this box of wing nuts. It was really miraculous that she called me and that I needed these wing nuts so much. So I was getting overheated. I had heat exhaustion that day. And so I'd have to take a break every 45 minutes. Because when things don't go on, you work twice as hard as when they go on properly. But I somehow think that it all worked out just fine. So your assignment this week is just to remember you have a quiet center within you that is your place of rest. And that goes with you in any situation you find yourself in.
I've experienced that on several occasions without going into detail of the occasions of what happened, but it was like a feeling of peace. It's just a feeling of peace in the midst of calm. I mean, in the midst of chaos going on around you, you just feel calm. It's like that no matter what's happened, it doesn't get to you. I've experienced that several times. Yeah. So it's good feeling, when you're not used to feeling that way and you start feeling that way. Yeah. It's good, feels good. It feels really good.
Yeah. Thank you for all the instance of harmony and joining and sharing that we shared today. I really feel it. I can only expect that you did as well. We'll have much more to say on all these topics on Monday. Until then, please remember the quiet center within you and enjoy every instant. It's a heavenly gift. Thank you. Namaste.
We get to read it all again tomorrow.
Yes, we do.
Bye. Peace of God to all. Love you.
Bye, everybody. Love you guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Love you all. Bye.